Sonny and Sayersville season is in the books. This is the weekly update. Coming out of the draft, Toddler Fight Club looked to have one of the strongest teams in the league. Picking up players like Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Johnson, and Jimmy Graham to add to keeper CJ Spiller, TFC put the league on notice that you better bring your A game each and every week. And in the first game, they did not disappoint, beating tight end to wide receiver 151 to 123.6. But the biggest contributor was none of the above stars, as Anquan Bolden puts up a 44.8 en route to the NFC Player of the Week honors and a big win for Toddler Fight Club. On the other side of the coin, tight end to wide receiver got disappointing performances out of Dez Bryant, who scored under 7 points, and Maurice Jones-Drew scored under 5. And Shane Vereen, who was on the bench, put up 22.9. So that didn't exactly help. Going forward, Toddler Fight Club is a team that everybody needs to take notice of. If he gets every player hitting on all cylinders, it's going to be a tough out. Our second featured contest was the closest game of the week, with a margin of victory of just 12.3 points. Any number of things could have happened in this game, and the outcome would have been very different. Team Blumpkin beat the Gotham Rogues 130.7 to 118.4. He got a monster performance out of AJ Green, who made Peanut Tillman look like a little girl. And on the other side, Gotham got a huge performance out of Colin Kaepernick, 40-plus points on the bench. Now, you can't really argue starting Tom Brady over Colin Kaepernick, but it's going to be an internal struggle each and every week for Gotham to decide which stud he's going to put into his starting lineup. Now, before we get to the hero and the GOAT and the key matchups, a lot of people have been asking me, what happened to Anthony during the draft there? We know he was at Ortiz's house, we know he left, and we know he showed up at our draft in like the 7th round or something. But what went on there? So I put together a little presentation just to clarify for everybody exactly what happened between the time Anthony left Ortiz's house and actually showed up in our draft. And I wanted to show that to you right now in a little segment that I'd like to call Anthony Around the World. Okay, so as we know, Anthony left Ortiz's house, which I can only assume. Alright, so his first stop was the basketball court, as always, where he placed a wager on a game. Next stop was his sweatshop. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Anthony pays 10 migrant workers 20 cents a day to constantly be producing swag around the clock. After he stocked up on swag, he hitched a ride over to the MTV Awards. He had front row seats and he didn't want to miss out on anything interesting. Then he took a little time out to relax with some friends, kick back and get himself in the right mindset for the draft. And then, of course, he did his charity work where he spends time at a local prison. I'm not exactly sure what he does there. I mean, he doesn't read to them, and I know he doesn't play an instrument or anything like that. Man, look at all those hungry eyes. So there you have it, guys. This has been the first installment of Anthony Around the World. Let's find out who this week's hero was. And now, the hero for week 1. Preventable losses. Now, I personally felt as though Peyton Manning was slightly overdrafted. I think everybody saw my reaction when Peyton Manning was the first quarterback to come off the board right at the top of round 2. But Peyton wasted no time in justifying that pick for Kevin, scoring 67.3 points in the opening game of the season, tying an NFL record by throwing 7 touchdown passes. When I went to sleep, he had 2 touchdowns, none to Demaryius Thomas. When I woke up, I had already lost. So did everybody who didn't have Peyton Manning that week. It's going to be difficult for any team to top preventable losses 210.4 total points or Peyton Manning's 67.3 individual player points, but they've got the entire rest of the season to try. And it deserves mentioning also that in that game, Anthony's team scored the 2nd most points in the league. If your name isn't Kevin, Rusty Strombone would have beat your ass. And now, this week's GOAT. Shower Hug left 49 points on the bench this week when he changed his starting lineup at the last minute before week 1 games. When you draft a team, generally speaking, the starting lineup you draft is the best lineup you have on your team. And as evidenced in the game between Shower Hug and the Golden Showers, it doesn't matter who has the best team. The only thing that's important is who has the best lineup. In week 1, if you stick with the starting lineup you drafted, you should have a decent amount of luck. Unfortunately, Shower Hug didn't have luck. He also didn't have Smith or Cook, and he lost to the Golden Showers by a little over 20 points. Luck outscored Romo by 8, Smith outscored Bo by 10, and Jared Cook outscored Zach Sudfield by 31 plus because Cook blew up and Sudfield, well, I guess the other rule that Showerhug broke was don't believe the hype coming out of Patriots camp about some guy you never heard of before. And for that, Showerhug is week 1's GOAT. Alright guys, key matchups. First key matchup we're going to keep our eye on is our only battle of unbeaten teams this week. In division, the Golden Showers face off against Team Blumpkin. Both teams 1-0, both teams looking to take prime position in the playoff hunt. The next game we're going to be keeping our eye on is, of course, the only game between two teams who lost in week 1. Rusty Strombone faces off against tight end to wide receiver in a battle of who caught a raw deal in week 1. So that's it, guys. Week 1 update over. Be sure to set your lineups, be sure to check out those coaches challenge rules, and visit the league homepage from time to time. I'm going to update that weekly as well. I'm your commissioner, and I'll see you next week, where it's always sunny.